Welcome to Beyond the Microchip, brought to you by Microchip Technology. In part one of our two-part episode on FIRST Robotics and generational influences in engineering, we discussed how FIRST Robotics brings the competition and excitement of physical sports to the world of STEM and robotics. In part two, we continue our conversation and take a step outside the arena to understand the other impacts these programs have on students, employees, and the world at large. Thanks for listening. Let's go beyond the microchip and hear a story of empowering innovation to enhance the human experience. Okay, so that's on the court.
Yep.
Then there's off the court. And you started to get into it where we talked about this is more than just a bunch of kids getting together for a project to build a thing, right? There's so much more of like a little mini business almost, or there's a lot of organization that goes on just beyond building the robot, right?
Correct.
Definitely.
Yep. It is sort of like a business. You got to do the fundraising. You got to raise money so that you can enter, and you want to buy things like, you might have, like Liam said, optical recognition and things like this, because the first part of the game, the first part, 30 seconds of the game is always autonomous. So you have to have some sort of intelligence built in and to be able to do something, try and do something in the beginning. That has more value. You get more points for the autonomous section. Then there's the drive section. But it is, you got programmers, software, you got advertising, you got sponsorship. You can go around and have people sponsor. We used to have different companies that would sponsor. Obviously, Microchip would sponsor us. They would sponsor other teams as well. And you would get their logos and put them on your robots. So just like advertising on race cars, you would put some advertising on your robot so you can get the money.
And the marketing isn't just, representing who your sponsors are. You also market your own robot for some of these other awards and other things that happen, again, off the court. Like we talked briefly about, it was called the Chairman's Award, but there was Eddie Flowers Chairman's Award, I believe.
Yeah.
But there was a small couple of minutes spot where you would get a chance to talk about your robot, pitch it. How is it innovative? How are you as a team making an impact in the community? All these other things. And it's not just the one award. There's maybe 10 or more other awards that you can still win. The Chairman's Award is special because if you win that Chairman's Award, regardless of if you're in the finals, you can still be invited to the championships. So there is a benefit to making waves in your community, even if it's not your robot. There's other ways towards that final goal, but you also have to market it and pitch it. You also have to know how to talk about your team and what you're doing, the volunteering you're doing, how you're changing your community, the positive impact, all of that. And a lot of the times I think we distilled it into a video. That's normally, I think, how we submitted ours is we would do a chairman's presentation video as the team, and we would send that in. But there's a lot more to it, than just the building. And they recognize that. Yeah. The FIRST is there to support not just building robots, but changing, improving your community, representing science and technology. And all of that is weighed, scored, evaluated. You go through the pits and you look at all of the robots that are being built. You're asking questions about the team as well. It's not just about what the robot can do. It's what did you guys as a team do this year, right? So it's engaging in a whole new way.
I mean, it's representative of STEM education, and you want to get kids interested in technology, but you don't necessarily have to be a technology kid to actually drive value for a team, right? What if you're really good at selling? What if you're really good at marketing, right?
Yeah, we had that. I know on a community team, I think it was someone from my school who joined the year after I did because they were like, what? That's so cool. You get to play around with the robots? I want to do that. So they came and joined, and they said, I think it was in their third year, they were like, I do like the building. I want to get involved in some of it. The parts I want to get involved with aren't going to come for another 3 weeks. When it gets here, I'll do that because I'm interested. But for now, I'm also really good at like art design, trying to make us t-shirts, trying to make us new banners, trying to make us new promotional material so that when we go to our community events, things are current, up to date, refreshed. We have pamphlets, we have flyers to give to people about how they can sponsor our team or give a donation. And so that was what they worked on, was in the first half of the build season, before the robot was actually built to the point where they could help with what they wanted to do that year. They found other avenues to help out with, which I think was more in the marketing and promotional side of things. And that was good, because I think that value, we used it for several years after that even. And when you get something like that going, it's incredibly useful for the team to kind of have a little bit of a refresh too, and remind you that it's not always about just tech, just engineering. You are, like we said, almost running a business.
Yeah. There's
You
an element
need
of recruiting for the next generation.
Sales and
too, right?
marketing too, right? In order to make sure you can continue to thrive.
Mhm.
Making the best robot this year is one thing, but what about the sustainability aspect of it for the years to come?
Okay, so we have the first competition, which is regional and then national and then international. I think the competition that I saw when it was in Houston it had teams from Taipei, had teams from Europe. It was a very, very large
Yeah.
event.
Worldwide.
What do the regional competitions look like? Like where do you go from in the beginning? It's at the school level? Is it within a school district? Is it within a geographic area, a zip code? How does it begin? What are the beginnings of a team before the competition actually starts?
So the ones we have in Arizona is we had one in the north and one central. So I think there was two. So you could register for more than one, but each one would cost you to register for the other. And so those would be the regional games that you would play, which would be mostly people within that area. Now, it wasn't limited. So we would have teams from California come over and play in the Arizona Central region.
Right.
It didn't mean that you were restricted only to the area where it was. It's just that they were the ones that hosted it. So you would host it. You'd find, normally it was sponsored by a school. The school would host it. They would set up a basketball court that would become the playing area. And I think you trucked in on the Wednesday, and then you had Thursday to work in the pits. And then Friday you started qualifying, and then you played Saturday and finals on Sunday. So it took up 3 or 4 days of the week when you participated. So it was really just geography more of where it would be hosted, that you could probably get the best demographic of schools in the area to come and participate. You want to get as many as you could.
And to give you an idea of the scope, the regional competitions were at a high school and a high school gymnasium, right? I think it was Flagstaff and Scottsdale for the ones that we saw that year. By the time you get to the one in Houston, it was the entire Houston Convention Center.
Yep.
And the middle was all of the arenas, plural. And then on either wing were the pits. Can you talk about the pits a little bit?
So the pits, normally you could only go in there if you were on a team, so the general public couldn't always get in. And you would have an area, maybe 8x8, where you would set up a workshop, bring your tools in, bring anything you needed to work on the robot during the competition if something happened. And you would walk around and visit other teams and see what they're doing and find the interest and share technology between yourselves. So there was a lot of collaboration in the pits. And that's where you got to know what other people do and items like that. Nearer the end, when you were in the finals, quite often you would have teams and say, oh, well, I've got this broken, can you help? And they would go around asking other teams. And it was a matter of everyone getting together, collaborating to help anyone to win the competition. So if you were knocked out and you weren't in it, it didn't matter. You would go and cheer and try and help the other teams to win.
To help, yeah.
So there was a lot of collaboration, and that's what I loved. It's just like getting involved and helping each other. This is a world, a regional event that you can just all get together and work to find someone to win. It doesn't matter, and cheering the same way. It's, we would go out. It was quite funny in the stands. We were team caution, so we used caution tape a lot. And we would have, I remember the one year, because I'm actually bald, you can't really see, but one year, one of the students made me a wig out of caution tape. And so I had this wig on covering my head. And you probably couldn't recognize me, but it was just so much fun, just being involved. And in the pits as well, you're walking around, you got this wig on, and you got caution tape on, and it's great. It really is.
But how often does the person that gets knocked out of the tournament first have an opportunity to contribute to the overall victory? I think that's a big part of it. That collaboration you were talking about.
Yeah, sometimes they'll have a motor that they could loan the winning team that's burnt something out or something's gone. I mean, you got power on the robots, 12 volt, but you can burn motors out.
So we had you guys come in kind of as a employment connection, so to speak. Microchip's very much involved in it, but how would somebody else get involved that doesn't necessarily have a connection through their employer? How do mentors get involved, I guess is the question.
Well, you've got the website First Robotics or Arizona First.
Yep.
And if you go there, they will give you directions on anything. And I would encourage, if anybody has any sort of desire to help students or work with them in any capacity, doesn't matter what it's with, go look and find a local team that you can be involved with. And you don't have to be a member of, I don't think you have to be a member of the school. I've not worked with a school to find out, but there are definitely community teams you could deal with, mentors, and the more knowledge and sharing that you can do with the students, the better.
Right, and not just in robotics, right? If you have
Correct.
fundraising capabilities or any ways that you can contribute to the kids' success.
Yep.
Yeah. If you're interested in First in any way, I think reaching out will find a home for you, because even if you're not a parent of a child at that school, but maybe they're a school that's close to home and you want to go and help out, that value is really impactful, right? Having another mentor who has industry experience, who can either talk about STEM, talk about the team and growing that dynamic, it becomes meaningful because you actually get to influence that culture, right? You get a little bit of, you get to work behind the curtain a little bit, because now you get a chance to help the students who, I mean, in my case, it was me looking back to how I used to experience these games and how do I want to put my influence to make that better. So I looked into one of my old high schools, and they now have an FTC team. So it's not the big robots, it's the slightly smaller ones. But I was shocked to learn that there was not only a team, but that I think they'd won awards a couple of years ago, and I had no clue. And so I was like, whoa, okay, I need to go connect with my old high school and see what contacts they have and see if I can't mentor there as an alum and get more involved. I'm way more motivated now, seeing that after I left, there was enough of a thread. There were students who I remember mentoring, who I remember seeing as freshmen when I was a senior, who stayed with First and our community team. Now they have a home at my old high school. Now they can participate in the FTC Tech Challenge. And I want to go support more of that. That's really invigorating to me, right? It's exciting, and being able to mentor something like that, where maybe they are doing the FTC now, but as a mentor and a student who went through the FRC, maybe I can grow that, right? Maybe I can build that into something more than what it is right now. I want to put that energy back into my high school and find a home for someone like me who was searching for it right at that school, instead of having to go and find and burrow and search for elsewhere. I want to give that student in the future a home for them to inspire and build that
sounds like
love
a chance
of
to pay it
robotics.
forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, what I think we've been focusing on is the FRC, the bigger robots, because that's really where we were involved. But since we started there, I mean, they've got 3 levels now. They've got the first Lego League, the first Tech Challenge,
right.
and the FRC.
That's
I
right.
think they
So-
may even have
Multiple
more
arenas.
now. I
Yeah,
think it's
so
grown even more.
Yeah.
The Lego League for elementary school, like third graders, it's phenomenal for them. They can really get involved. They still have to have a challenge. They still have to complete something. They still have a presentation to do. So
It's just on
It's
a smaller
great.
scale, right?
exactly, you
Yeah.
know, my daughter who was involved moved over to Atlanta and joined. Eventually she got a teaching job for special education, and found out they had a club for the Lego League. And so she was signed up straight away. And it was just the excitement you hear from people involved. It's great. Really is.
So we've got the Lego version, and then we've got a series of steps that get you up to kind of the FRC we talked about. And then after that, they go into university, and they kind of, most cases, they depart from this, right? But there's an opportunity in these programs to build skills, right, that take you from I'm just interested in doing things with my hands and being handy to an eventual job that will require those kinds of skills. Can you talk about that bridge, the bridge between just being handy and interested in stuff to what you're going to be needed to do as an engineer? Does first give you that kind of bridge in between?
I think it does, because it exposes you to a lot of areas. So let's just take you want to play and build things, and you want to create things with your hands. So that could lead you into fabrication. One of the students on our team used a lot of engineering and fabrication. He left and he actually joined Intel, working on fabricating parts in Intel.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole cycle of going through, I mean, his dad was a mechanic. So obviously, like you say, generation, father to son, and he was involved with first. His father was a mentor at that time as well. And they went up, and it just gives you that ability to not be so concerned when you start a job. You find something that interests you more. It's like software engineering, software programming. They're programming the robotics. It used to be we used to use blocks with National Instruments. Now you're programming in Python, you're programming in C, you're actually directly driving motors and things like this. So you go into college and you've already learned some of the programming languages you'll be taking to college. So
you have experience building things.
Exactly. Right? Same presentations. You don't feel concerned about presenting to any professors or anything like that, and it just, things become more natural because you've been doing it. You've been doing it with people who mentor you or help you grow. They don't knock you down and things like that. They try and encourage you and get you going and do more of it.
But you are given constraints. You are given deadlines. It does present some of these scenarios that would help for the workforce.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the actual facilitation of this, I think it's a 6-week build period, right? And going into it, I think the only real prep work you can do is, sure, some of your skills training. Like, I have never soldered anything in my life before. I should probably do that before I go and tell someone I want to work on the electronics on the robot. So yeah, sure, here, practice on last year's robot. Here's the, electrical board distribution. Go take these leads off and put them back on. Do that a couple of times. Practice your soft skills, sure. But when you're actually in it, you do go through design, prototyping, evaluation, testing, and practice, and building, and all of these pieces that are actually integrated into the natural design flow process of being an engineer, right? Whether it is in software or whether it's mechanical or electrical, it's still a part of the overall design process. And having just been someone who wanted to build a robot at home for fun, you don't exactly get that same scope as when someone challenges you and a team of friends to do that in 6 weeks and come out with a actual effective work product that you're then going to put on a field with 5 other robots and fight it out to see who did it the best, right? That gives you this sense of drive and urgency to learn and build those skills in a different environment.
And that makes the transition to the workforce easier.
Well, especially also for like project management. So you have to achieve something between a set time,
right,
and you have to have goals. So if you hadn't had the project management where you have the organization of what you have to do step by step, can you do things in parallel? Can you do things that have to wait till serial? Like Liam had said earlier, you had to wait for certain parts to be built before you could work with them. So we used to have a whiteboard and we put on, okay, today, these are the things we're going to focus on, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you would present an organization that they could grasp hold of and know, okay, we have to do this. We can prototype some of the software, but you can't get it complete until you've got the robot and you can drive it. So, you've got stages that you can work at. What can you do in parallel to be more efficient? What can you do, do you have to wait for? So that, I think, planning and how you go about something, it's funny because what I've learned at work now, I would take what I've learned at work and go and manage the project for building the robot.
Well, that's good. It's wonderful that there's transferable skills. As we kind of wrap things up a little bit, let's get into technology that we're talking about here. What are some products that might be in our catalog that might show up in a first robotics competition? What kind of technology do we have that would contribute to that?
So one of the things that transfer that we produce that could be used in the robot is, if you think of the drivetrain, a lot of our drives are done by what we would call PWMs as a peripheral, pulse width modulation. And essentially what it does is it steps the voltage up to drive the motor for a certain period, then steps down again. So you're actually sort of applying a voltage periodically at a certain rate. As you increase the pulse, you're driving it more or less. And those are standard peripherals on many of our microcontrollers. So the industry of driving a motor, or in order to drive a motor, you use PWMs and you can control those. So our technology on Microchip, we have, a lot of the microcontrollers will have PWMs on them automatically.
Do you have any predictions for the future of robotics and STEM? What do you think the future holds based on your history with FIRST Robotics or STEM education, or the direction that the technology is going?
Technology is just taking off. I mean, it's astounding. When you think 20, 30 years ago, you didn't even have cell phones.
Yeah.
I think involved in STEM is great. I think people need to be involved in it because I think that's where the world is growing. You look at AI now coming out, it's just, it's frightening in 10 years where we're going to be compared to where we are now. You got to be open, and I think the world's at hand to anything that can come up. It's just, anything's possible.
I think it's interesting to see when we look back, what is almost 10 years, I think, since we were on the community team, at least regularly, consistently, where even the games and the projects that these students are taking on look so different from what I remember in my mind's eye and what I can look back on even in the photos and videos from records of that time. And it really is astounding to see how much it has evolved in just a decade. For me, looking forward, I can definitely say that we have had more advancement in the last 5 years than I felt like we had even during those couple of years when I was in high school. That has only accelerated. And considering where FIRST is positioned to bring those students up to speed even faster so that when they get to college, they have these soft skills, they've worked on projects, they have what is essentially firsthand experience for understanding that you want to even be a mechanical engineer because you did a little bit in high school and you're like, nope, that was the stuff that I liked. And then you've refined that up to starting college. You already know the courses you're going to take. You already have a plan for your future. And then getting into the workforce and having that drive, meeting them so early on in that journey is pivotal, right? We are, as FIRST, we're helping to bring those students up to speed. We have got a lot more to cover now than we did even 10 years ago. And that's both ingenious and a little bit, like you said, terrifying, because that workload is just going to keep building as we keep innovating and creating new technologies.
I feel it sad for the people who've got to invent these games because you've got to come up with bigger and better challenges all the time.
Yeah.
Could we get to humanoids doing tasks at some point?
I'm sure.
I think we're almost there.
Yeah.
I mean, at least from what people are trying to market now. Is that just promotional material? Is there only one in existence? Maybe, but it only takes one to start. And then people see that, either try and commercialize it or apply it to business. All of that helps to grow and build And especially in robotics, when you have something that you can base your principles off and fork off from, it accelerates your development so quickly too, because a lot of the times the groundwork being done for you and being able to pick up that torch and run it forward, that means that every step you take, you have already gone further than those before you. And that's incredible.
I mean, recently I was visiting, the Ducks up in Oregon University, and there they have robots that actually deliver the food to students within their dorms. It's like, yep. In 5 years, I think I could be in luxury.
Well, it doesn't look like it's slowing down for certain. It's just a matter of how fast it's going to keep going.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to wrap up, guys. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's been great.
Liam Sheard is Senior Product Marketing Specialist specializing in content creation and academic programs, and Vincent Sheard is Associate Director of our Development Systems, specializing in global integrated software. They join us today from our headquarters in Chandler, Arizona. Thank you for venturing beyond the microchip with us. Join us next time as we continue to explore empowering innovation to enhance the human experience.
It's a topic that's dear to heart. So, I mean, I enjoy it. Liam was like, have you prepared? I said, I lived it for 7 years. I don't know if I need to prepare. I enjoy it.